Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Musings. First and foremost, if there's any weird background noise, I'm sorry about that. My dogs are in the office. I left the door open, so they might be coming in and out and making noise. I'm sorry about that. They're just really good at making noise. This is actually my second attempt to try to record this again because once more, I ended up oversharing and getting to things that didn't need to be talked about. So I'm going to try to streamline this a bit more. So, I'm not sure if this episode is actually gonna get up in time because today is my husband's birthday, and anytime that he has off of work, I would like to be able to spend with him, and instead of trying to, edit this video and get it scheduled. So, if it's not already scheduled to go up the midnight leading into the 28th, then rest assured I will make sure that it gets up on the midnight leading into the 29th. At least. So there might be a delay. I'm hoping not, but hopefully you guys understand if I don't get it up in time because I want to spend my husband's birthday celebrating with him. Also, I hope you don't mind the gameplay footage that I decided to use. I have played Monster Hunter World before. The reason I am sucking so bad at it now is because I've been playing Monster Hunter Rise instead, and the gameplay for that is pretty different, so I'm trying to get reacquainted with the mechanics for World because I found that World is tougher than Rise in a lot of ways. And I'm going to try to cut out as much of the cinematic story-based stuff as possible, just because I want to make this relatively spoiler-free. I know that Monster Hunter World has been out for a little while, but I think it's only been about 4 years, so for anyone that wants to play the game and experience it for themselves, I don't want to ruin the story for them. So yeah. So guys, before I get into a bunch of the personal stuff that I like to talk about, I had a thought that I wanted to go over. I talked about this on Twitter recently, but I wanted to kind of elaborate a bit more. I'm not going to use names. If you know, you know, but I'm not going to use names. I saw this post from someone who does anti-MLM related content sometimes, and it really rubbed me the wrong way because they were spewing off a bunch of stuff against someone. I don't know this person, I don't know a whole lot about them, but it was basically, the gist of it was like, if you aren't producing anti-MLM content in the exact way that I do, and if you don't go after these particular companies that I go after, then you're not with me, you're against me. You're not anti-MLM, you're pro-MLM. And this just really rubbed me the wrong way because, first and foremost, this us versus them, with me or against me type of mentality, it is a huge red flag in cults. We actually see this on the bite model, actually. I think it's under thought control. I'd have to double check. Note to self, Tori, editing Tori, go to the bite model and see if you can pull up where exactly it is in the bite model. But this is just a very harmful mentality because nothing in life is black and white. Nothing. Even when it comes to scams and pyramid schemes, where we feel like it is black and white. It really isn't. And when it comes to content creation and talking about scams, it's also not black and white. Just because someone is aware of a topic, it doesn't mean they're obligated to cover it. It doesn't mean they're obligated to cover it in the same way that someone else does. They shouldn't have to feel obligated to spend the same amount of time and effort. Some people just, talking about anti-MLM stuff isn't for everyone. And talking about it non-stop isn't for everyone. And feeling like, and believing that just because someone doesn't cover something in the same way you do means that they're not on your side in a discussion, that they don't agree with you on that topic. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm struggling with how to put it into words. So I'm actually going to try to find where I discussed it on Twitter because I just wanted to read what I said about this topic where I was able to say it a bit more coherently. I find when I write things, it's easier to explain my thoughts because I can organize everything. When I'm just trying to do these unscripted videos, it can be a little difficult. I usually don't like just read verbatim the things that I write on Twitter on here, but I'm just gonna share what I said here. I said, one important thing I believe people in the anti-MLM movement should try to remember is the dangers of us versus them and with us or against us thinking. Some people don't have strong opinions on certain topics, and not everyone wishes to spend lots of time focusing on them. Many people simply aren't educated on a subject. Even if they are, it isn't wrong if they choose to not dedicate all their time to a specific cause. We all have our own lives and choose to focus on different things. Let's not attack anyone for that. Likewise, as much as the behaviors of people within MLMs can be frustrating and sometimes need to be addressed, our messages can be muddled if criticism becomes mixed with personal attacks. At least in my opinion, the anti-MLM movement should not be us versus distributors. It should be us fighting for distributors to be better educated, treated, and compensated in a business model that currently exploits and misinforms them. So yeah, that was my thoughts that I shared on the matter. And I think that says it better than I've tried to say for the past few minutes. I just wanted to get that off my chest, really. But yeah, I do want to reiterate that last point, that I don't think that the anti-MLM movement should be us fighting against distributors. It should be us fighting against the companies that exploit them. And yes, there are some distributors that act really shittily. They say really horrible stuff. They do horrible stuff. If you're following any other anti-MLM creators right now, they have been kind of buckling down and going after some of the really horrible things that people have been saying. I know that there's like one, I think it was a Monet distributor who's been called out for saying some really racist stuff lately, and people have been contacting Monet and being like, this is one of the faces of your company, one of the bigger people. Aren't you going to do anything about that? And I think it's because they are so high up in the system, there's been some hesitance from Monet to actually do anything about them. This has been really frustrating for anyone that recognizes how problematic the things that this person has been saying are. So yeah, sometimes it is important to call people out on their behavior, but I think when we do that, we should be focusing more on how it ties into issues with the actual companies that they're selling for, if we can find a correlation. For me, my biggest frustration right now is that, yes, this particular individual, who happens to be a high-ranking distributor from Nate, is saying really horrible stuff, but what's even more frustrating is the company that they represent are doing nothing to try to change that. Therefore, when I think of this company, Monet, now that association on top of all the other negative associations I have with this company are, oh yeah, by the way, their distributors are racist because this high-ranking distributor is racist. You know, that's not a very good look for your company. It's just very bad from a business perspective, in my opinion. So we should call out that behavior, but when we do so, it shouldn't be a personal attack. As long as it's a criticism on someone's actual behavior, and we're trying to look at it in a way for how can we handle this in dealing with MLMs as a bigger problem, I think that's good. But if we're going to go into things like personally attacking someone's appearances or the way they talk or anything like that, that's just going to make it really difficult for the bigger issues to come forward. Keep the petty personal attacks, things like, out of it. That's how I personally prefer to handle things anyway. That's how I personally see how anti-MLM content should work. Everyone obviously has their preferences. This is just my opinion. It's just hard for me to support any creator that likes to focus on personal attacks. And there are some creators that not just personally attack distributors, but they'll also, in like instances like this, they'll also attack people who may actually agree with them for a number of really dumb, horrible reasons. So yeah, that was what I wanted to get off my chest. I'm asking my audience that they have an open mind when it comes to anti-MLM versus MLM. And remember that at the end of the day, distributors, even though some of them do act horribly, some of them do say questionable things in order to sell or in order to recruit, you have to remember that a lot of times the way that they act has been taught to them by the companies. Sometimes they're well-intentioned people that are taken advantage of, and they're extremely misinformed, and they can be shaped by the environment they're in. And yes, there are toxic people mixed up in that, but they don't represent the whole. We have to look at the bigger picture, that there is some good people mixed up and there are some bad people mixed up in it, and a lot of people are just simply being taken advantage of. It's not black and white. Okay, now that I've gotten that anti-MLM thought off my chest, I want to go ahead and go into the personal stuff that I usually talk about after I get my main thoughts out of the way. So, the big thing that I wanted to talk about was my niece is here. Oh my gosh, she is such a heart melter. She was born on the morning of January 3rd. She's very healthy, she's happy. My sister was sick at around the time of the delivery. I actually got a call. I remember referencing this, I think in my last video. I said that I had gotten a call that was very distressing, and hopefully the best would come of it, keeping my fingers crossed. The thing was that my sister had tested positive for COVID, but it was time for the baby to come. So thankfully, my sister's symptoms were very mild, and she's in the clear. She's doing all better. The baby is fine. They didn't get sick. They are so healthy, and they're so adorable. I don't even like kids, guys. I don't like kids. I don't want kids. But my niece is a heart stealer. Oh my gosh, the images and the videos I'm being sent of her. Oh my gosh. I haven't had a chance to go up and see her for myself yet, unfortunately, but I'm hoping I will soon. If that wasn't scary enough of my sister getting COVID around that time, I've had other family members, like both sides of the family, both my side and my husband's side. There have been several members that have been dealing with COVID, some worse than others, but right now at least things aren't too scary for anyone as far as I'm aware. You know, we're just constantly trying to stay hopeful, keep our fingers crossed. And then we also had a friend who recently got it, and he's only just now bouncing back from it, but he still feels like crap in other ways. You know, life just continues on, just continues to be weird, stressful, but it goes on. And then there was another thing I kind of wanted to talk about, and this is where I kind of overshared last time I tried to record this, so I'll try not to now. I kind of alluded to around the fact that something really distressing happened around Christmas Eve, and I didn't really want to talk about back then, but some things have since been resolved, so I will talk a bit about it now. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of details, but basically the gist is that I had some family members who, shortly after I kind of opened up about being an atheist on social media and started acting more like myself as I wanted to be instead of trying to pretend to be someone else, they had sent me a very hurtful message saying that they couldn't deal with me and they didn't want to have anything to do with me, and that they were removing me from their social media. And then I hadn't heard from them again for years. And then finally on Christmas Eve, I received a package from them, and I was super excited to hear from them again because I thought maybe they were finally wanting to talk to me again and rekindle, you know, our relationship, you know, and be family again. But when I opened it, it was a book about keeping faith during a difficult time. The message that sent me, I'm not sure how many of my audience members are going to understand this, but the message that's sent to me between the no contact after that message for years and years, only to have a book about keeping faith, that just, it was hurtful and it felt very judgmental. And I had a really shitty Christmas Eve because of that, because I was so hurt. But recently those family members were in the area again because of stuff that was happening, and another family member of mine that knew about the situation and knew about how I felt about it talked to them and explained what I was going through when I received that book, and they asked if I would come over and talk to them and listen to their apology, because they had no idea that I had been hurt so much by this, that was the message that they seemed to be sending. And I debated whether or not I should actually go, because at the time I was just still so hurt by the message that had been sent and by the years of no contact. But I did end up going, and I listened to their apology, and it turns out I do believe they were very genuinely sorry for that message, and that was not their intent. And that they hadn't meant to go no contact all this time. They hadn't really realized it had been that long since they had tried to talk to me about anything. And as far as that message that they sent me went, I think they forgot that it was ever even sent. But now I can only say that was a misunderstanding, because even though the timing lined up with me opening up more about being atheist, that was not why they cut me off at that time. It was because they were relatively new to Facebook and didn't really understand how it works, and that you can just, unfollow someone's profile if you don't want to see all their posts but still want to remain friends with them. And they didn't like the fact that I cuss. That was the whole reason why they cut me off, is because I cuss like a fucking sailor. See, I can't avoid cussing. Yeah, to me, cussing is not a big deal at all. It's just how I talk usually. I try to avoid talking like this around, like my parents and stuff, but to me, it's just words, I'm not spewing slurs, obviously. I avoid words I believe cause actual harm to others that can be hurtful, but for me, cussing is just cussing. But they don't see it the same way, and that's why they cut me off. And they completely forgot about that reason, and they just never got in contact with me again until they sent that book. We were able to talk it over and forgive, and it seems like hopefully we're going to be moving on from that. And I'm just so grateful that I have a family that is caring enough to understand that even though I am not a Christian anymore, that I am still family. And I have never asked them to change. I have never asked them to believe any less than they do. I don't want them to have to feel like they have to change to be loved by me. And that's just my viewpoint in this situation, is I just wanted the same thing where I didn't want to be asked to change for them. So I'm glad that a lot of it ended up just being a lack of communication and misunderstanding. But it was still a very stressful situation, and even now, I'm still a little stressed because there's still some feelings there. They're like, well, why didn't you talk to me for all these years? Why was this the first time I heard from you? It's not that you didn't have access to my social media. You could have unblocked me and refriended me at any time. You could have texted or called me. If you didn't, you could have sent me something before through the mail. If you didn't have any of that information and didn't feel like you could talk to me directly about that, you could have talked to any of the family members that did have that information, but say you just decided not to. So there is still that little bit of frustration there, but at the very least, I'm glad that that misunderstanding was cleared up. And I hope that moving forward, I can be, included a bit more in their life, because I want to be. I want to be included in part of my family. I just felt like I wasn't welcome before, but if it really was just a misunderstanding, then hopefully going forward they understand that I do want to be part of things, and I am included. And now that I actually have some type of contact going with them right now, I actually was texting with them this morning, so that was great. I can also reach out to them. So hopefully that's all resolved. I don't know if there was anything else I really wanted to talk about right now, but I did feel like I wanted to get on for a bit because it's been a little while. If anyone has anything they do want me to talk about besides, my own personal crap going on, I just kind of fill the void with that shit. I am always open to suggestions. And yes, fictional cult breakdown still not up yet because I'm the fucking worst. It's just, there's like so much footage to get through, and I'm actually struggling to write the script because it's kind of a collaborative project with my husband and I, as I've spoken about. I'm just trying to find the best way to take his suggestions and incorporate it more into the format that I prefer for my videos, and that's just taken a while. And lately my brain has just been like, nope, I don't want to deal with this. We'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow brain is like, we'll do it tomorrow. And it's just really difficult to get progress going when my brain does not want to cooperate. I will get around to it eventually. I am so determined to get this out if it's the last thing I do. But for now, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I've gone on long enough. I hope you guys take care and, just hold on to your loved ones, The way I see it, we only have one life. There's nothing else. We have one life to live, and it's difficult to live that life steeped in hatred and hurt. If there's a chance to keep a relationship with someone alive, I think that you should take that chance. And sometimes you're gonna get hurt, but sometimes it'll work out. There are relationships that I have completely cut, but that's because I knew that after many chances of trying to make it work, trying to find change, it didn't. Sometimes you have to draw the line, but if you truly believe that there's something there that can be saved, I think it's worth trying to save. So yeah, take care guys. I hope to see you back in the graveyard soon.